son of a bitch. It's me, Austin. It was me all along, Austin.
Fate of WCW is in my hands.
You stole it. You stole it. You got it. You got it. Fire me. I'm already fired. He's hot. He's spicy. He tastes good. Batista, I hope you're watching. Because if you mess with me, I'm going to beat you up. Just like I'm going to beat up Ponzi over here.
For over 10 years, the world's #1 source for professional wrestling news and information. And once again, here's your host, Damian Nelson, Frank Cosentino, and the man they call Meathead. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and the Cos here with you live Sunday night, May the 17th, 2009. Gentlemen, we're coming off the heels of WWE Judgment Day on pay-per-view. We're going to talk about that in depth in just a moment, but more is down the road here on tonight's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report, including our news desk. We're going to go in-depth on Mtt Morgan.
Who?
Mtt Morgan. He's
Morgan.
genetically stacked and blah, blah,
Frank,
blah, blah,
tell
blah.
the people that you're here.
I am here. We've got the pay-per-view
That's our
preview
producer
of
hitting
TNA
the hot
Sacrifice
button.
coming
That's
up this
actually not
Sunday
Frank.
on pay-per-view. Beat the Meat History segment VI3. We're going to talk about the situation between TNA and Bobbly Lashley, which, of course, is very interesting as of late. But first, gentlemen, let's talk about how people can get a hold of us. And that is by calling us here on the phone lines on the ESPN studios. The number locally, 276-ESPN, 276-3776, or all over the world at 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-990-3776. We're also streaming live at ESPNMilwaukee.com and PWRshow.com, where the chatmosphere is blowing up. But, gentlemen, WWE Judgment Day, the May pay-per-view outing by World Wrestling Entertainment, coming off the heels of a very controversial backlash last month. Man, this pay-per-view has left me wanting no more, meaning they didn't do anything. What did $40 get people tonight? They didn't do anything, not a single title change hands. You saw no new real storyline development. This one, I mean, it was a dud.
There's stuff that can develop again with Matt and Jeff Hardy, which we'll get into. But as far as that goes, that's a SmackDown. That's a Raw. That's not a pay-per-view. That's Superstars. That's Heat. That's Velocity. That's Shotgun. Saturday night. And once again,
Flying Nuns,
in one of the matches, which we'll discuss, can never, ever have a DQ at a pay-per-view. It is a waste of money at that point. You've paid literally for nothing when there is at least no decision in a match. That's the same as kissing your sister. And Frank, I've also had DQs. You thought I was going to say, Frank, I've kissed your sister, and that's not true. That is not true, not at least in this lifetime. But I have also seen pay-per-views that have had DQ finishes and TV segments on pay-per-view, and still don't understand why the E, if you will, the company from New York, continues to do this. Up north, continues to do this to paying wrestling fans.
One-Man Dynasty in the chatmosphere at PWRshow.com, where the discussion continues live right along with us here Sunday night, May 17th, a special night here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. User One-Man Dynasty says it was a good pay-per-view, and then goes on to say, in reference to what I said a moment ago, no title changes. Come on, Damian, you can't keep changing them. No, you can't keep changing them, but give me something for my money.
Well,
give me something worth watching, and I don't even think the wrestling quality was as strong as it needed to be.
No.
There was nothing special about Judgment Day tonight, in my opinion.
Now, One-Man Dynasty, according to the Chattosphere, says he spent Chattosphere said he spent £15 on J-Day, if you will, or JD.
Okay. Great. The pound is stronger than the dollar.
No, but and everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'd like to know why he thought it was good.
Yeah, that's a good point, Frank.
I mean, let's break it down, and maybe he could
break it down,
make us feel a little bit better.
Not me.
But
And remember, fans, you can try to make us feel a little bit better about this pay-per-view by calling us and joining us live at 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-993-3776. Let's talk about the matches. One by one, the opening contest saw returning Umanga go up against the Chicago native CM Punk. This one in front of 15,000 fans at Chicago's, or Rosemont's, actually, Allstate Arena. So,
what happened? Hey, what happened the last time CM Punk was in a pay-per-view match in Chicago? How did he look?
I don't recall.
Of course, because you blocked it out like I tried to, but unfortunately I was there along with you. More worried about the Packer-Bear game going on. CM Punk was destroyed by Big Daddy V on pay-per-view. Though Big Daddy V, even though CM Punk was the ECW heavyweight champion. In his hometown, was demolished inside of 3 minutes.
And tonight, it was demolished by Umanga. Right. Umanga in his hometown in the opening match. Now, that's risky. I'm not saying you need to win because you're in your hometown, but it's risky because they could have deflated the audience for the rest of the night. Luckily, they didn't. But CM Punk not able to overcome the threat that was Umanga in this opening contest. A decent match. I mean, nothing better or worse than you'd see on weekly television.
Now,
if you were at the pay-per-view, also call. I'd like to know what the pre-match matches were. The dark match? The dark matches.
Was anybody cheering?
People can cheer during the dark match.
Because you made a point, and it's very valid. You come out, okay, now we're going live, everybody. We're going to, the fans are going nuts. It's a pay-per-view. You have your hometown guy, and he loses. Now, that's going to happen, but there's a deflation there. Now, fast forward all the way to the end, where a lot of people are hoping Jeff Hardy wins, and now you bookended, the deflation at the beginning, and then at the end you've got, well, aren't we supposed to go home happy? That's a common misconception, though, that they're going to send people home happy at every pay-per-view. It's assumed that the E, and Damian has actually said this on the program before, that the E tries to send their fans home happy on every night. It's not necessarily the truth. Maybe they do this now to make other pay-per-views look better. Backlash was a good pay-per-view. Why?
Look at the Backlash wrap-up. I don't recall saying it was good.
Okay, Backlash was a good pay-per-view.
The end,
but
in
comparison,
was memorable.
In comparison to WrestleMania wasn't that good. So maybe, are they going half and half now? I mean, are they making some pay-per-views just kind of just to make the next one look more amazing?
The only way this changes, if the buy rate is just horrible, that will make them think, you know what, guys, maybe we should.
It's a part of business. It's not the main part of business, but it's a decent chunk of it.
They may rethink this for next year, unless they've already decided, okay, Judgment Day is going to be in Toronto, whatever the situation is. But if the buy rate is one of the worst, and that's what I'm hoping for, because this pay-per-view is just terrible in my opinion, that they rethink it and go, you know what, let's just scratch this one and then make it a Saturday night main event or something like that.
Results from the chat, Osphere, dark match was Beth versus my girl, Roast Beef Mickey, and Mickey won.
Okay.
There's your dark match, and definitely I would have cheered for that one.
Okay, good. I appreciate the minions there for saying.
Yeah, but, and there's a Vash in the Chatosphere has said that, and I'm going to keep calling it Chatosphere because it can't get fixed right now. Chatosphere. Vash in the Chatosphere said that Judgment Day has been rarely a good pay-per-view. I mean, is this where their lull is? Is this where they don't put as much effort into it because they build towards some of the bigger summer pay-per-views?
That could be. And if that's the situation and if it's a lull, there's going to be a lot of trouble. Because now I don't remember last year's Judgment Day off the top of my head. But
to be honest, the only Judgment Day I remember being any good was the return of The Undertaker as a biker. That's the only one I remember.
Okay, that was about 5 years ago?
At least 5 years ago. Rolling. I'd say a lot more than that. I'd even be willing to bet about 9 years ago.
I'm hoping that this buy rate is terrible. So they can rethink this thing and go, you know what? I don't think they react to pay-per-view buy rates. So you get the information so late down the road. Look, this one, just like Backlash, we talked about it, going into Backlash, there was nothing to look forward to. I didn't even know what the matches were. And I'm a broadcast journalist. Going into Judgment
Obviously
Day
not
tonight,
doing your job.
Judgment Day tonight in Chicago, Allstate Arena, 25 minutes from where I spent the day today. I had no desire to go to that event, none at all. And, you know, they're not selling it. They're not putting things on the card that make sense. Now, we talked last week about WWE potentially being in a rebuilding period, trying to make new stars. I think they tried to do so with John Morrison and The Miz and Santino Marella specifically tonight. But what was the motivation? And we talked to callers about this last week. What was the motivation to purchase Judgment Day? You've seen Cena Big Show. You've seen Edge Jeff Hardy. You've seen Batista Orton. All that stuff is rehash.
Benjamin Morrison. I've seen
that
that
was
already.
A new match,
too.
and it was a good match.
No, it's not a new match. No, it's not. When there was let me finish. When there was a three-way battle between Carlito, Morrison, and Benjamin for the IC title, where they kept bouncing that title. Actually, there was
so three ways not different from a two-way match?
Listen, what I'm saying is we've seen Benjamin Morrison when it was Johnny Nitro versus Shelton Benjamin when they were battling for the IC belt on Raw. What was that, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah,
we've seen that because those guys alternated wrestling each other over and over and over. Then Hardy involved himself. Then Carlito involved himself. So we've seen every match that was on tonight, we've seen that match. Now, granted, Jericho Ray, it's been a long time coming since we've seen Jericho Ray because that was a lot of good matches that we've had in WCW. I don't think we've had those matches in WWE, but still.
They've got if this is their rebuilding, so they better get some new bricks and new everything. Jackhammer the slab and start over from that point. I mean,
are you saying that you need Goldberg back? You just said
who?
Jackhammer.
Who's Goldberg?
Goldberg's a former WWE champion.
The next match
try to
was,
beat that
ECW
because you wanted me to say something WCW. Try to beat that.
Well, a true broadcast journalist would have gone through his entire championship reign, as opposed to just the one that tried.
No, because the only one that you would have recognized would have been the E one.
Oh, I know he went, what was it, 12 weeks undefeated in WCW?
I believe
maybe
it was 170-something and all.
Yeah. Jack Swagger versus Christian for the ECW championship again. Christian wins and walks out of Judgment Day still the ECW champion. Hey, they had a good match. I mean, it certainly wasn't boring to watch. They had a good match, a decent match. Christian getting the pin with a handful of tights this time. And seemingly this feud also continues.
I kind of liked it. That was something that they really trying to build up. If you watch the last ECW and they brought back what's Christian's Peep Show, and Swagger came
on ECW.
Swagger came out. You know, and obviously he's trying to know you shut up, and then you shut up, and then it was at the end it was Christian with a right hand, Swagger, and they're like, okay, here we go. I kind of thought maybe Swagger had a shot at winning it based on how that ended, but the way that it ended with Christian grabbing the tights to win it, it's sort of Ric Flair-esque in a way. I don't know about that.
Well, no, Ric Flair, who was on the Judgment Day pay-per-view, if you didn't see it, if you're tuning into the show without having seen Judgment Day, Ric Flair, we still are not sure why, but he did a run it.
Right. Why?
Right.
And what did he run it on the Jericho match? I mean, I don't understand that. Is that where it was?
No, it was during the Batista match.
It was during the Batista match. Why? I mean, doesn't he belong to Ring of Honor? Doesn't he have a deal with them, ROH?
No.
I mean, because he's been on the last two broadcasts.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We'll talk about that when we get to that particular contest, and Frank has a lot to say about that one, obviously. But Shelton Benjamin versus John Morrison, two people who are very gifted athletes. John Morrison, who's obviously on a huge face run in WWE. Him and Shelton put on a great match, specifically seeing John Morrison do a somersault dive off the top rope to Shelton Benjamin outside the ring. The landing was left a little bit to be desired, but a good move nonetheless. We talked last week. We went in-depth on John Morrison. We talked about how good he is, how good he can be, how good he's gotten. He showed it again tonight at Judgment Day. Shelton Benjamin, still just one of the most, I'll use the word underrated superstars in WWE, but I'm not sure if he's actually underrated. I wouldn't say he's underutilized, but he's one of those people who you can always count on for a good match. He is a great athlete, and he delivered tonight with John Morrison in the ring. Here was the reason for this match, in my opinion. Just simply to get John Morrison over. That was it. Not with a win, but to get him over, because the way they oversold it at the end of the match, talking about how great Morrison was, how he came in and defeated Benjamin, how much he's grown, this was simply for the fans to recognize who the hell Morrison was.
Yeah, and as we talked about, rebuilding. Now, Shelton Benjamin's not rebuilding anything, but Morrison is. And if they do maybe this is a how'd you do tonight kind of thing, how you feeling, things are good, all right, we're going to elevate you at some point if that's how they're planning. I hope they do. I hope they put him in some sort of championship capacity before the end of the year, because that's a new star. It would be something fresh, which they need, and I think he's got the potential to be a heavyweight champion at some point.
John Morrison?
Yeah.
I don't know. All I see John Morrison doing is spots. Kind of like a male Lita. No charisma. Just can do a bunch of silly flips. That's really all I see out of him. Yeah, you want my opinion? That's all I see out of him. Don't let him talk. Don't let him talk on the microphone.
Brano in the atmosphere says this. Wow, soon this is going to be a TNA wrestling report. There was not one bad match on the card. The matches had time. Wow, I mean, I've seen a lot of worse WWE pay-per-views. Thank you, Brano, for the first mention of TNA this show. Whatever. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. My opinion, this pay-per-view did not deliver anything worth paying $40 for. My opinion. And that opinion is going to be either debunked or solidified by the Internet wrestling community over the course of the next few days. We've got Sacrifice coming from TNA next week. We'll see if that's any better. And we'll give you, the fans, the opportunity to make that choice, as we do each and every month right here on this very program. But speak out. We want to hear what you guys have to say verbally. 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-990-ESPN, or locally, 276-ESPN, 276-ESPN. We are live Sunday night, May 17th, not on normal Monday night due to some Brewers scheduling conflicts. So we are live tonight.
That's not true. It's due to the fact that we want to be live right after the worst pay-per-view of the year.
Ooh, the worst of the year? That's a bold statement.
I'm a bold man.
No way else is good. Backlash, overall, the score for Backlash is certainly higher than tonight's Judgment Day. WrestleMania, obviously, is WrestleMania.
Let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Seriously, think about it.
Maybe it was.
No, maybe nothing.
Here's the thing, though. You can say that it was the worst pay-per-view of the year. I say WrestleMania 11 was the worst WrestleMania of them all, but it was still a good show.
Debatable.
Right. Yeah, but I think that's an important point to make. You can say something was the worst of the bunch or the best of the bunch. You got to look at the bunch in general, and I think WWE has given us some decent pay-per-views over the course of the year, most of which were worth the amount charged. This, I don't think it was. But let's continue down the course of this show, and the next match was not a match, actually. It was The Miz coming out to congratulate John Morrison on his win over Shelton Benjamin, and he actually called him Marty Jannetty, which was clever, I think, because you had to really know it to get it, and what he was obviously referencing was him being the weaker of the tag team, of the two of the tag team, but it got better from there. The Miz calls out Cena, says that he's overrated and disappointing, just like the Chicago Cubs, and calls out Alfonso Soriano, who was at ringside, declares that since Soriano or Cena won't come out and wrestle him tonight, he's 4-0, which is one more game than the Cubs will ever win in the World Series.
If they ever make the World Series. And by the way, Frank, you can attest to this. Soriano probably moved as fast during the pay-per-view as he did during a fly ball in left field.
Yes. Yeah, he kind of lollygags out there.
Yeah, lollygags isn't the term.
And then he kind of hops at the end to make the catch.
Out comes Santino Marella, the high spot of this pay-per-view, who refers to The Miz as Fizz, calls the Vicky Guerrero a pig, shows an image of Vladimir Kozlov and Sam from, was it Sesame Street? I don't even know what he is from. I've seen him before, but I can't remember right now. And what a striking resemblance the two had, by the way. And says that Fizz looks like a jackass.
The Fizz?
The Fizz, that's what he was calling him.
Okay.
Fizz and Marella get into a bit of a scuffle, which was interesting. It was almost like being at a UW-Madison game, because when Miz was beating down on Marella, the chorus of boos flooded the arena. when they would roll over and switch, the chorus of cheers flooded the arena. This was, I guess, won by The Miz as Morella was left hanging. And out came Chavo Guerrero to defend Vicky being called.
Wait, hold on. Ooh, Chavo, dun, dun, dun.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Thank you. By the way, that's Adam Sandler's first movie.
Is it?
Yeah. Really mad.
Funny, though. I mean, funny. Miz is, I guess eventually he'll get the match with John Cena.
Jericho
we'll care.
Jericho never got his match with Goldberg.
Who?
Oh, the
Who the
angle,
hell is that? Some mid-carder? I got to find that clip.
the angle that this angle is based off of.
Maybe we saw trivia earlier. Who knows what I'm referencing? You remember. Who the hell is that? Some mid-carder?
That was almost 10 years ago, I think.
Oh, it was
98.
Years ago.
It was 98. It was just over 10 years ago. But anyways, let's go to the phone lines, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start in the East Coast. We've got Elliot from New York City. You're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Elliot? Trying to get Elliot there. In the meantime, let's go to James, who's also in New York. James, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hey, guys.
On line 2. James, you're live.
Go ahead.
What's up, guys?
Hi, how are you?
Frank, say what's up.
I got 2 questions to ask.
Go ahead.
First question, how do y'all think of Judgment Day?
We've been talking about it for the last 20 minutes.
I'd say right now, if you had to put a number in it from a 0 to 10, I'd give it a 2. It was brutal.
That's a 20% score. That's failing.
It was brutal.
Meathead?
50% because
I rate it this way.
I could care less.
I rate it this way. How much value would I put against it? $12.50 is what I wrote down as far as what I would have been willing to pay for this show after seeing it.
Yeah, but I watched it for free. It's a website on the computer where you can watch it for free.
Oh, on the computer.
That's what I did.
Well,
I did.
And we don't condone that type of behavior, of course, but
we're not condemning it either.
What did you think of the pay-per-view? Strong point, weak point. Give me the best part and the worst part of the pay-per-view.
Okay, the best part is the Shelton Benjamin John Morrison match.
Okay.
And I don't know what the freak happened in WWE Championship match. The worst part, I'll say the ending with Jeff Hardy and Edge.
Yeah.
I'll say the ending.
What didn't you like about it? You wanted something different to happen?
I thought CM Punk was going to come out and cash it in.
Oh no, they're going to play that. They're going to play that music for a while. They're going to have his music hit at the end of every Edge match, or whoever's the champion. They're going to continually do that over and over. I like the way they tease that now.
My second question: who's winning in the points?
And the points, the Brewers won 8-3 today.
You can go to pwrshow.com to find out all the information about that, the new PWR Rewards program. Again, that's at pwrshow.com. Office game tonight. What's going on back there, Tillman? We got Elliot. I think we still got Elliot on the line. If that's, go to Elliot in New York. Elliot, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hello?
Hello, Elliot.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, how can I say this?
You must have seen Judgment Day.
Yeah, how can I say this?
Here, I got one word for you. Ready?
It sucked.
There's your word.
It sucked. But I know why it sucked.
Why did it?
Besides repeat matches, but I'm not going to go into that. But it sucked because superstars are being built. They're just buying time.
Yeah.
The way I see it.
So we're being sold. So in your opinion, we're being sold on this fact that just give us some time. There's going to be some guys that you're going to enjoy watching months down the road.
Yes.
Oh.
I might be wrong, but
right, and I might be wrong. And
if you look at half of the not half of the card, but 2 segments of the card, you see Morrison and Miz. Guys are obviously trying to make, hopefully, maybe, not hopefully, I really don't hope for it, but maybe Cena versus Miz thing down the line. Morrison in a title position. It's a buying time type thing. I see, and maybe they might do something with Christian in a bigger position, or even make Jack Swagger their retarded Kurt Angle. Whatever they might do.
Let me ask this too. I'm going to throw this out there. Even though we don't want him on every pay-per-view and dominating the pay-per-views like he had done so many times? Is it because we're missing guys like Triple H and the Undertaker?
To play the game.
No.
And the Undertaker and some of the
Man
other
walking.
some of the other guys. I mean, is it because we're missing these guys? I mean, because a pay-per-view doesn't have the same feel if these guys aren't around.
Not as much with Triple H because I can go without Triple H and so on.
Okay, individually, right?
Yeah, I can go without him. Taker, you can't take too much of Taker sometimes because sometimes Taker is just throwing in certain situations, certain storylines that usually sometimes aren't good. You know the thing I like about Taker? Taker makes guys. I think.
Yeah.
You put him against a young guy, he makes guys. He made Orton, in my opinion. He made Kennedy, in my opinion.
Kennedy.
And he's coming back. So I see it as buying time. Also, I'm not gonna say, TNA is doing better, WWE is doing better. Brands do good every so often. They're always gonna have it's not gonna be TNA for the next 8 years. They're gonna have a dry spell. They're gonna be bad for pay-per-view. You don't know if Sacrifice is gonna be garbage. You never know.
Right.
You know? They might just also do Sacrifice might be bad leading into Slammiversary, and they're buying just time.
Good point.
You never know. Sometimes I think companies are just buying time. Tonight was one of those buying time type things.
Right,
they're buying time because they're obviously making Morrison into something.
You're buying time, but you're doing it on a pay-per-view. You could buy your time by.
They're not buying time. We bought time.
Right. When you're purchasing something, you want something special.
But I might be wrong. I might be wrong. Maybe it'd be great.
I think you're right on. But on a pay-per-view, when you're spending that $40, you want to come away with something that that was worth it. You can have a bad show, but this was a bad pay-per-view.
The thing about WWE is, the thing I see, their problem is, what haven't you seen already? What haven't you seen? You're not going to be surprised anymore, I think. What haven't you seen from all these guys? You've seen Big Show John Cena. I saw Big Show John Cena. I was tired of it WrestleMania 20 when he first FU'd him. I was done with that already.
Right.
I was done with the whole Hardy thing. He doesn't excite me anymore. I'm sorry, he doesn't. Sorry for all the little girls and little boys. He doesn't excite me anymore. You're not going to see the excitement no one excites anyone anymore. The only person that brings out emotion, people, are Jericho, and that's it.
All right. Good point.
Despite not liking Jericho, he's going to bring that out. That's his point. He's bringing hate. You hate Jericho. It makes you want to hate Jericho. Even with Orton, he brings emotion out of you, whether it's hate or like. He brings it out of people. And I don't see that many guys, playing. Like they don't take it to the edge of your seat no more.
Right. Well, Elliot from New York, we're out of time. We've got to take a time out. Thanks for your call and that intelligent discussion about WWE Judgment Day in the Chatmosphere at show.com. User MizenBGO says, and I guess this might sum it up, compared to December to December, Judgment Day was great. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com, and PWRshow.com. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and the Cause here live. Sunday,
I got a chopstick.
May 17th, 2009,
Here in
right
my
after
pocket.
WWE Judgment Day on pay-per-view. And I gotta say, out of fear of being labeled a mark that I'm not, I'm gonna become a sheep. Bah. Wait, is that a goat or a sheep?
Damien, we've seen what you've done with sheep and goat. That was bad.
That was only when I was living in Alabama.
And it was still illegal there.
Oh, no. Encouraged. This was a great pay-per-view. Judgment Day.
What?
I'm becoming a sheep.
What?
You know what? We have a long-standing rule here on the Pro Wrestling Report that nothing sucks. Wrestlers don't suck. Because of the sheer athleticism, the physical commitment, and the skill that is required to do the job that they do. We're not faulting the performers from this evening. Nope. What we're faulting is Pay-per-views are big events. Big events where something should happen. Something of note should happen. And I challenge everybody to, whether you like the pay-per-view or not, to let us know what was of note for you on that pay-per-view. Because we might be missing something here. For me, nothing significant happened. There's nothing I'm going to remember a week from now and say, oh, yeah, that happened at Judgment Day.
Right, and here's the measuring stick. With your friends that are out there, hey, did you see Judgment Day? No, what happened? Enter your phrase.
Good point,
boring. What would
Thank
that
you,
be?
Homer.
Oh, you had to see the ending. It was great. Well, what happened? Well, Edge won.
Was In Your House Beware of Dog better? Remember that was the one in Florence, South Carolina, got taken out by a storm, and they had to redo it on Tuesday? It was Bulldog versus HBK, I think, in the main event. Let's continue down the line of, and you can call us, folks, with the answer. What was significant on this pay-per-view that happened tonight? The number, 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-990-ESPN, or 276-ESPN, 276-3776, or 1-800-990-3776. The chat continues at the Chatmosphere at PWRshow.com, but the next contest at WWE Judgment Day tonight, live from Chicago, was Chris Jericho versus Rey Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. Ray defending the title against Y2J, where he guaranteed a win. That would not be the case, as Rey Mysterio is able to retain the Intercontinental Championship.
A very average Raw-type match or SmackDown-type match. Nothing special. Give credit to the guys for working hard, but it just left me with, all right, nice job. Nice job, guys. That's
not a slow clap.
No. Well, the thing is that you've seen so many better matches from Ray and Chris that, Chris Irvine and Oscar, whatever his last name is,
Gutierrez,
could do a lot better than what the E either allowed them to do or they felt like doing, to be honest with you. I've seen better matches from them.
Right. They gave it their all, but it just
not saying that their effort's not there between the two guys. I
thought
wasn't
this was one of the better matches on the card.
And it was. That's how bad the card is.
No, it wasn't great. It wasn't pay-per-view quality.
Jericho guaranteeing victory gave you somewhat of the impression that he might actually walk out with the strap. Also, rumors of Rey Mysterio's knee injury from a recent SmackDown house show or at the SmackDown taping, I forget, could have led to that rumor. However, maybe also it was said because they just wanted to swerve us, and I commend that if that were the case. But the Intercontinental Championship stays around the waist of Rey Mysterio.
Do you think he has to double it up, because he's so small that the buckles kind of are at the end, kind of like a hat that doesn't fit, when you're putting an adult-sized hat on a kid?
And cut off the extra strap?
Yeah. On?
No. The one of two main events. It's the WWE Championship on the line as Randy Orton takes on Batista. Orton defending his championship against Batista.
Frank, what do you think? Because we already heard what Damian just thought.
Brutal. I'm on my soapbox. I'm going to say this thing. I know that everyone on the chatosphere is going to go nuts here, but
Chatosphere, right?
That's what I said.
Pay-per-views. And there's going to be people like Frank. We already heard the story, but for the new people out there, never, ever, ever have a DQ on a pay-per-view. It just you paid your hard-earned money for some type of decision in each match. Now, the decision's a DQ. Well, what did that give you? We basically had a DQ on Raw. Did we not? With Batista at the end of that thing where he took the steel steps and he was breaking trying to break the ankles of Orton, and it ended, and they both kind of stared down at each other. You just had it. Why do that again? Why take that away? At least make, have someone grab the tights and win it, and we've got a winner, and then beat each other up. This was the moment that happened. I said, 0. This thing is a 0. This whole pay-per-view is just a waste of money, and I just hope that they have figured it out never to do that again.
Frank,
and I'm done with my.
Frank, I'm glad you're so
off the box.
I'm glad you're so impassioned that you would think that the E would hear you.
No,
and say, you know what?
Care.
We heard Frank. Frank, we get it. We're sorry. They're going to keep doing this. The only time it's not going to happen is on WrestleMania. Maybe the Rumble or Survivor Series or SummerSlam. But they're going to do that in all these other pay-per-views.
I subscribe to a different philosophy. I think a well-placed disqualification makes sense in a title match. If you want to get the heel over, if you want to get the heel champion over, I think it makes some sense.
You want to get the
heel
toe, and a slide, but still, it just wasn't good TV.
If they get themselves purposely disqualified, that's fun. And I'm not sure what we're supposed to believe happened tonight because Orton hit the ref, but Batista grabbed the ref, and Orton's arm sort of swung. Orton sort of took advantage of the situation. I mean, it was an interesting ending to what a match that Dave Hero, who called in after watching the pay-per-view, who wasn't able to join us live here in the studio tonight, but had one word in all caps via text message, and that was horrible in regards to this match. And really, what do you expect from Batista and Orton in a matchup? I mean, Orton's great. I'm a mark for Randy Orton. Let's not get that wrong.
Is that your mark out moment for the week? It's Randy Orton? Because you got to mark for something.
I'm not sure. I can't make my mind up, so the fans have to tell me.
You are a mark.
He's the monster heel. He is the
Orton?
ultimate.
He's a viper.
He is the top heel in this company right now. And you bury it in a DQ. You buried it. And it's not memorable. That just happened on Raw. Just bad. And there's no other way to describe it.
Again, the challenge is still out there. What was the point of this pay-per-view? What did you walk away from this pay-per-view with? What memorable moment is there from WWE Judgment Day tonight? The number you can call, 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-990-3776, or 276-3776. We're live Sunday night, May 17th, right after WWE Judgment Day.
I got to throw out to the chat-osphere, if you will. And I think it's time to add maybe some different pay-per-views. You know,
Vader time?
Yeah. We've gotten used to the kind of order of things. And being a romantic lover that I am...
We need some
music. Can we get some warning before you go ahead and make such a
we need
ludicrous
romantic
statement?
Being the romantic lover that I am, you can't go with the same order of things. You got to mix it up. You got to switch things up.
It's time to shake things up again.
You can't always go with the 7 deadly steps of lovemaking or wrestling. And I think what we need to do is get rid of some of the pay-per-view names, change them up, or maybe add some different matches.
Well, once we get to the news desk, we actually have the information on a pay-per-view name change.
I'm thinking it's time for the Ready to Rumble cage.
Oh.
I'm thinking.
You have been pushing this match
I'm thinking
concept.
It's time for Fall Brawl.
Three rings? Don't you dare sit in this studio on this show on this
was
day.
World War III.
Okay,
Pay
good.
attention. Do your job as a
even
broadcast.
2 rings. So somebody can fall between the two in the middle, or Sid can just about kill somebody with a power bomb that's botched.
The only killing Sid ever tried to do was with his scissors.
And a baseball bat.
I did enjoy that movie, Edward Scissorhands.
You ever see the porn version?
No.
I was watching Zach and Miri make a porno, and if you ever had anybody grab your elbow...
That's what happens when we give him a quiet moment. Frank, somebody should have said something. Shut up now!
I don't know where to go after that one.
Well, let's go to the next matchup. Big Show versus John Cena. Oh, because Big Show threw him through a 7,000 watt. Because it matters how.
That's a 7,000 watt.
Yeah, that matters. Spotlight last month at Backlash to end Backlash, which is what saved that pay-per-view in this reporter's opinion.
Here, I was about to give this pay-per-view a 3 until I saw how Cena kicks out after it was Grisham that said it.
By the way, Todd Grisham, awful.
That's a quarter-ton guy on the second rope, splashes right on top of him, and gets a 1 count.
1 count.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then to end it, he does the FU, whatever they call it these days. And it's after at WrestleMania, which I give Cena a lot of credit for, where he literally had Big Show and Edge. Now he does it here. Hey, 1, 2, 3. I win. Bad. Just bad.
Frank, you should get louder and tell people how you really feel, because I think
it's bad.
I don't think you've actually spoken up in a long time. One-man dynasty in the chattel sphere. I'm all flustered. It says, calm down, Cos, because you're getting out of control.
It's bad. I can't. There's no other way to describe it. For those of you that purchased this pay-per-view tonight, I feel sorry for you. Yeah, I do. You got duped. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Well, it's a big show. Oh, it's a big
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, here live. It's Sunday night. So difficult not to say Monday. Sunday night, May 17, 2009. We're talking about WWE Judgment Day, and fans were very intrigued to hear, or interested to hear, what you have to say about the pay-per-view. You can call us at 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. You can also join us at the Chatmosphere at pwrshow.com. And, Meathead, what we got going on in there?
In the Chattosphere?
In the Chatmosphere, yes.
The Chattosphere. They're talking about the Ready to Rumble match and how it'd be a great in WWE. Now, you're not right, Bash. It's not where they started at the top and descend. Actually, you started at the bottom and worked your way up. You got into the weapons that were stored up on the top. And you're right. WWJD, actually it was WWKD, what would King do? You know, the guys that were on their way, David Arquette, on their way to see Jimmy King in WCW, make his way back to the main event. Damien, you saw the movie.
I never saw the movie.
You can't say you never saw
I
the
never
movie.
saw
You're
the
a
movie.
liar.
I did not see the
liar.
movie. I did not see that movie.
You pay to see junk like See No Evil, but you won't watch a wrestling movie.
I saw No Holds Barred.
No Holds Barred wasn't a wrestling movie. Asian Quest?
Vision.
I was going to say, that's a movie you're also going to not want to talk about on this program.
John Cena wins that matchup we were talking about just for a break. Judgment Day against the Big Show.
But what we didn't talk about is, why is Ric Flair? Why Ric Flair?
Oh, that's a good point. We did gloss over that because, again, we said there was no memorable moments on this pay-per-view. Ric Flair running in to save Batista from Legacy. If Michael Cole hadn't said that Batista is, or Ric Flair is Batista's mentor, I would have still been wondering why he was there. Ric Flair's retired.
Ric Flair works with another company right now, another wrestling
he's free
promotion.
to do whatever you want.
And we understand that, but, is this just the WWE's way of throwing more money at Ric Flair and showing what kind of person Ric Flair really is?
But what was the point? We'll see what happens tomorrow night on Raw and going forward. There's speculation, at least by some people, that Ric Flair could be involved in a no-holds-barred, non-sanctioned match at Extreme Rules, so they can explain away the fact that he's not retired.
How does Shawn Michaels feel about that?
That's the thing. We'll talk about it in the news desk. Ric Flair recently with some pretty interesting statements about his status in the wrestling business, but tonight he comes in, not in a match, but saves Batista from Legacy. Really, it's always great to see Flair, but why? Why?
I don't understand why. It doesn't make any sense. You're absolutely right. It doesn't make any sense. Why? What value can you get from Ric Flair making his way back onto TV? Who's he going to put over?
NASCAR.
NASCAR?
He was the Grand Marshal at the NASCAR All-Star event the night before.
So he put over NASCAR. So
NASCAR
paid for
apparently
him to
he's being paid to try to put over NASCAR now.
Is that the one with that Dale Earnhardt?
That's the one where they're making a left turn.
Yeah. If you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing, boy. Yeehaw!
Go to the phone line. Bowman, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Bowman, are you a NASCAR fan?
No.
Not from Boston. It's outlawed in Boston.
Yeah, they don't run races up there, do they?
No. I used to live in Richmond. I used to live down the street from Richmond International Raceway.
where they did have the NASCAR racing. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
I can't believe.
Here's what I can think about going to a race, and I've never been to one, so correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it sort of like, all right, let's go get a beer?
Yeah, that's about it.
I mean, I've been to a race, but they are unbelievably boring. Unbelievably boring.
You just wait to look for the fight that's going to happen.
Bowman, what do you have for us? Did you watch Judgment Day?
Oh God, no. You know what? In all honesty, this pay-per-view gets a 3 for me for one reason only. I haven't even seen it. Triple H is not in the main event.
Okay.
This gets a 3 for me just for the fact that he's not in the main event in a title match.
Bowman, we also got to ask the question too. Did you ever see Ready to Rumble?
No, why would I see that?
Thank
you.
It's a wrestling movie.
It's a wrestling
movie. No, it's not a wrestling movie. It was with some hack who should have never been WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Who isn't? Don't stop. Just stop. That movie sucked, and you know it did.
Nothing sucks.
The movie sucked. Wrestlers don't suck. That movie.
I'm off the project.
Oh God, that movie was horrible.
Bowman, what do you have for us?
Yeah, just commenting. I think that you guys are just talking about why Ric Flair showed up between Batista and Randy Orton. It's obvious what's going to happen. I guarantee you, tomorrow, Monday night, or within the next 2 weeks, Randy is going to kick him in the head. They're going to do what they can to get him over as a heel because clearly, if you watch the television, Randy Orton's getting cheered is really halfway getting cheered when he comes down to the ring. Why? Because he keeps going against Evolution. Why are they cheering him against old Evolution guys that are supposed to be faces? It's simple. They keep showing that same fight that happened, I think, when they kicked him out of Evolution 5 years ago when they 5 or 6 years ago when they beat the crap out of him. Easily enough, the fans are going to sit there and sympathize with Randy Orton. He's just getting basically those guys are getting their dues for what they did to him.
That's a good point.
And they're going to keep doing it, and it's just like, you know he's going to get cheered against these guys. You know he's going to they want to give him that, that heel heat. He's doing stuff to be the top heel, but he doesn't hold the candlestick to the heel heat that Chris Jericho gets by just walking out there and mean bugging everybody.
Yeah. Well, Orton's a cool cat. And, I think in today's day and age, I think a lot of wrestling fans like him. I mean, it's almost like when they were trying their best to make Austin a heel and didn't know what to do with him, back in 96. And obviously after he broke his neck in 97 and then just sort of going with it, they were trying to make him a heel, but the fans just gravitated towards him so much. Perhaps we're getting a little dose of that with Randy Orton as well.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like this. You want to make Randy Orton heel, get him against some actual legit faces. Make him face his top baby face in John Cena a million times if you want to. That's the only time he's going to get heel because you're going to get the little kid.
Hey, Bowman, I think that, when you say a legitimate face, I'm trying to, as you were talking, I'm going down the list of guys. Jeff Hardy is the only legitimate face I can think of.
I mean, even Jeff Hardy, Rey Mysterio, John Cena, the guys that are supposed to be the big baby faces
John
in the
Cena
company.
Is technically
you
not
want him to get that legitimate
heel
heat, you're going to have to go against those guys. There's no such thing as the real big baby. The last big baby face we've seen in professional wrestling was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Outside of that, we haven't seen it. We're not going to see another one for quite a
And I don't think John Cena is not a true baby face because of, you got the IWC who kind of, 50-50 on him. Either people love him, they hate him, or they just respect him. But most of the time, you get people booing John Cena at pay-per-views. So.
But going by what WWE wants you to say or wants you to do, those are your big faces or whatnot. Who's on the WWE Kids magazine? Mm-hmm. In the front cover, those are the Taker. Those are the guys that you want to like. If he goes against Taker, he's going to get booed. He keeps going against all these Evolution guys, or these. It's just going to be. There's going to be people kind of gravitating towards him if they sit there and read the backstory on it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Good points again, Bowman, as usual. And do you plan on watching Sacrifice this Sunday night?
No.
Well, at least you're equal. You're EOE, huh?
No, I mean, TNA, until TNA has a top star that actually I feel like watching to see that's not from WCW, NWA, or WWE, that they homegrown and made themselves, I'm not going to really care. Well, what's the main event? Is it Mick Foley versus somebody from WWE?
I think it's Foley Jarrett.
Oh, great.
Well, technically that's TNA's own guy, but obviously he came from somewhere else too, so.
Foley and Jarrett. Didn't we see that on a Monday Night Raw back in the New Generation era? When he used to have the set that said Raw?
Yeah, somewhere around there. You won't say in TNA. You can't really see that until you end up getting Joe versus Styles or something like that for the TNA belt.
Yeah, but Samoa Joe's running around cutting people with a knife right now.
That's not a knife.
He's not really doing too much of anything. His character's ruined to me.
Yeah.
Bowman, thanks for the call here to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. And if you want to call in and speak out, whether it be Judgment Day or whatever else in the world of professional wrestling, the number locally here in southeastern Wisconsin, 276-3776, 276-ESPN, or all over the world at 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-990-3776. Still to come, we've got the news desk, This Week in History. We're going to talk about the situation between Bobbly Lashley and TNA, Beat the Meat, the VI3, in-depth on Mtt Morgan this week, and a preview of TNA Sacrifice. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. We were going to have a little Christian action there. Ooh, wow. That didn't come out right. Christian Cage.
Yeah, Christian
ECW
Cage.
champion Christian action.
Christian. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you. Seriously,
Don't
I think
you ever sit there and try to take the high road against me. What we endure from you week in and week out on this show. You got a lot of nerve, brother.
I'm not a mark for the Backstreet Boys.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report on ESPN, 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com, and streaming live at PWRshow.com. I think we got some mentions in the chatmosphere. PWRshow.com.
They're stoked about Mtt Morgan in depth tonight. Also,
he's genetically jacked.
I have to go to, and I don't like to pronounce this name because I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it wrong, but Miz and B. Joe. I haven't bought a wrestling T-shirt since the 1-2-3 Kid, but Beer Money Inc. is making me change my mind because I got my money. I've got my mind on my money and my mind. Start over. My mind on my beer and my beer on my mind.
I was talking to Meathead during the break. I got to give props to JB from TNA.
In the back.
He did a tweet the other day from one of their live events. He was at IHOP. They were playing Gin and Juice on the radio, and he said, I got my mind on my money and my money on my omelet. That's good stuff.
I do want to share what else you got out of them, too? Who might be around? No? Yeah? You don't want to share?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea. Keep going.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Where are we at in the show? News desk? What do we do?
Yeah.
Go.
Oh, Elijah Burke?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was backstage at the TNA taping last week.
Glad to see that you're on the ball. Got Tillman doing whatever he's doing back there, sleeping at the wheel.
No. Listen. That was in the news desk later. I follow the format sheet, the run sheet.
I don't get a run sheet.
And that's why you are you. Edge versus Jeff Hardy.
Matter of fact, we try.
Edge versus Jeff Hardy. Can we get this pay-per-view out of the way? Edge versus Jeff Hardy for the World Heavyweight Championship. Matt Hardy interferes, hits Jeff with the cast. Jeff Hardy loses, and Edge walks out the champion. And it's funny because, the internet was abuzz with all this potential.
The internet right now is abuzz with Nelson wants a BSB Christian action.
The rumor that was out there was that the advertising for WWE's next pay-per-view had Jeff Hardy coming in the champion and leaving the champion in some of the promotional materials. Let's tell you, folks, they do this stuff on purpose. They put these swerves out there so that you think one thing's going to happen, then another happens. Or they have two different ways they're going to go and put promotional materials out for both, but then only release one group of them, knowing that things are going to get out. So we didn't report it.
No, matter of fact, what did we report that nobody else believed until it started popping up elsewhere? And I think we reported first. Was it? I don't know. Jeff Hardy not renewing his contract when it ended up, and now it's all over the interweb.
Is it a fluffer? That was WWE Judgment Day. Coming up this Sunday is TNA Sacrifice. We'll give a full preview of that in just a few minutes. But first, let's go to the news desk because it's next on the format sheet.
Yeah, so one of these days I'll get a format sheet. When we started this program, I used to get format sheets. And then Damien stopped printing them off and sent them an email because it was easier for him to do. Then I would stop getting him an email, and then we'd talk about it for a couple minutes beforehand. Now I still get here early enough to have a conversation with everyone else, and everybody else is doing their own thing, ordering Jimmy John's without me, getting sodas without me. I feel left out. But enough about me. Let's go to the news desk.
WWE has changed the name of the July pay-per-view from the Great American Bash to just The Bash. WWE is going to host the Unforgiven pay-per-view in September in Montreal, Quebec,
It's
Canada.
not the Unforgiven. It was just Unforgiven. The Unforgiven is the movie. It's also a Metallica song, Unforgiven 1, 2, and 3.
Let's go to last week's ratings. Raw scores of 3.3, SmackDown with a 1.9, Impact 1.2, ECW 0.93, and Superstars at a 0.95. Now, I'm thinking about no longer reporting the ratings because I'm so damn sick of hearing the sheep out there talk about how horrible TNA is because of their 1.2 rating.
And they only went up 0.1, and they've only moved 0.1 since last year, and it's because of this. Go ahead, Damien.
Kid Rock has not been included on the WrestleMania 25 DVD. The whole section that included his performance is not on the DVD.
It was awful.
The reason is unknown. However, it's believed to be tied up in some royalty disputes, not necessarily disputes, but lack of an agreement. Keep in mind that every time these Kid Rock or Limp Bizkit or whoever's songs are used, usually royalties have to be paid, which is why on video games and sometimes DVD releases, you see theme songs change.
Yeah, but you know WWE has gotten a lot better at that. Actually, for the longest time, Jeff Hardy's music was unable to be on WWE video games. And even though, as Damien, you know, Jeff Hardy's music, before he got a change finally to Chopstick, or whatever that song is called, was public domain music. I mean, it was music that could have been used by anybody, but they didn't have the rights to put it onto video games.
Ring of Honor is going to be in a fewer homes coming up May 31st, as it looks as if Time Warner Cable will be dropping HDNet from its lineup sometime before May 31st. The two had been in talks about keeping the station on the program on the Time Warner outlets. However, Time Warner making the decision not to keep HDNet after May 31st. Ric Flair has publicly stated that he wants to return to the wrestling ring. Says that he's better than 90% of the guys that are out there right now, and that he will not return to the ring unless he gets the blessing from World Wrestling Entertainment, and specifically Shawn Michaels. JBL and Charlie Haas have launched a new business called CustomMuscle.com, selling nutrition products online.
Mama Joanna.
TNA will have another live pre-show before Sacrifice, and that trend is expected to continue. I got to say they did a good job with the pre-show from Lockdown. The only problem was it wasn't on the pay-per-view channel. So how could you encourage buys if you got to go to the website to buy it? The only people that are going to watch it are the fans who are going to watch it already. So I did provide that piece of feedback to TNA when I was down there. But I don't know where this particular one is going to air, but hopefully they will eventually get the opportunity to go live on the preview channel, if you will, and maybe call it the free-for-all.
You're going to get royalties for that?
I don't need them. That is the news desk. How about this week in history, Meathead? Well, this first one's funny.
Well, I have no idea because I don't get a run sheet, so that's fine.
Das Wunderkind. Das Wunderkind Alex Wright was born on this day, actually, in 1974.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Alex Wright. Tillman, we got to find Alex Wright's music because it's been too long since we've heard.
Bottom minute. You know what's great about Alex Wright's music?
Alex or Alice?
Alex. Alex Wright's music, we've used it before.
Oh, we have.
We have. I wonder if Alex knows, but.
Because it's red and bold here in the PWR Chatmosphere, because I don't notice it otherwise. Some of these kids, I tell you. User Siren Shane says, the WWE, and I quote, the WWE book month to month while TNA book year to year. What does that mean?
I have no idea what it means.
I know what it means. No, it's an interesting point. Some have said that as of late, and thank you for that, Siren Shane. Some of them said as of late that WWE is actually booking more on the fly than TNA has been, as they've been planning out things to hit their 4 pay-per-views over the course of the year than WWE has been. So that could be one of the reasons that you're seeing a little bit more of a storyline development in TNA and actually driving towards ends and new beginnings, which is why you saw that seamless transition from Sting Angle to more of a Sting Jarrett to more of a Foley Jarrett kind of thing going on, which was, again, pretty seamless as far as comparatively speaking to what TNA had done before.
And that's just their main event stuff that they've got, still worked out. The rest of it, still on the fly.
Continuing along this day in history as we celebrate Alex Wright's birthday. Should sing like happy birthday to him.
In German?
I wonder what Das Wunderkind is up to now. I believe he's in the real estate or he's doing personal training.
For over 10 years, the world's number one. I'm sorry, what are we doing?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the Dancing Fools? They were WCW Tag Team Champions.
I don't know.
Alex Wunderkind.
Das Wunderkind.
Yeah, I combined the two. And the Disco Inferno.
Also this day in history, some sad news actually, as this day in 1984, Vince McMahon Sr. passed away. And on this day in 2002, Davey Boy Smith passed away when happened to British Bulldogs. In 1993, Marty Jannetty defeated the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental Championship.
Really? So Marty had a win.
Yeah, he was the Intercontinental Champion for
about a minute. Remember when Matt Hardy was being referred to as Marty Jannetty and Jeff Hardy was being referred to as Shawn Michaels?
Oh, yeah, we did it on this very show. Y'all did it, rather, on this very show.
Actually, I did it.
Back to the Champisphere, Miz for John Cena 0. These names are getting longer and longer. I don't understand that. But he says, you guys seen the Seinfeld episode where George wants to leave on a high note? That's the cause these days.
Good night, everybody.
Speaking of history, you can now check out archived editions of the Pro Wrestling Report where we go back to a year or two ago and give you the news of the current week. As reported on by the Pro Wrestling Report, that's in the PWR archive section of PWRshow.com. And for those of you that had not been to the site and noticed, we have updated our news again so that the news is actually embedded within the site and you can get all the latest wrestling news right there at PWRshow.com, and also the new PWR Rewards program, which is available at PWRshow.com. Obviously, show archives and the first opportunity to see PWR Prime Time and all of our special video updates as well at PWRshow.com. Now, Meathead, we've got a unique situation going on in TNA right now. Bobby Lashley. Rikishi? No, Bobby Lashley. Rikishi will be on this program next week. We can ask him about his brief appearance, but
I mean, we're going down the same road here.
Yeah. Bobby Lashley at lockdown, big deal made out of him. Came in and was used on the following 2 weeks Impact. But for the last 2 weeks, we haven't heard him mentioned.
As a TNA video as well. They put some money into a video.
For the last 2 weeks, we haven't even heard his name mentioned. Now, here's what's going on, folks. Bobby Lashley was never signed to a TNA deal. Bobby Lashley has stated in a recent interview that he is trying to work on a deal with TNA where he works 4 days a month. Makes some sense. Covers their 2 TV tapings and just leaves another day for the pay-per-view, but says he wants to work that often with TNA, but doesn't want to wrestle anytime near any of his MMA fights. And for those of you who don't know, he won his latest one in 24 seconds over the weekend, which made the front page of Yahoo.com.
Yeah.
So Lashley, no ink on the paper as it pertains to TNA. Obviously, he has expressed his intent to sign with them. Obviously, they have shown their intent to use him. But Meathead, what do we do now? I mean, really, it was never explained why he was in TNA, who he was going to align himself with, what he was going doing.
It's like Macho Man in TNA. It's like Macho Man showing up at Thunder. What's the point? It's like Ric Flair showing up at a pay-per-view. Oh, wait, that just happened. Honestly, that's what's going on here. And, unfortunately for TNA, Bobby Lashley now has the upper hand. He just came off a 24-second victory, and so he's got the advantage. If Frank were here right now, Frank's sleeping, he's got to get his Italian cat nap. If Frank were able to speak right now, we'd let him go on about, it depends on who's this, who's that. Lashley has the advantage over TNA. TNA need Lashley to make some sort of sense out of why he was there. Lashley doesn't need TNA right now because Lashley's doing well in MMA.
So then that begs the question, was it a smart move for them to even put him on TV?
Nope, absolutely not.
Without having him contracted?
Absolutely not, Rikishi.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a difficult decision to make, I would imagine, because you've got this big star in Bobbly Lashley who's available, who wants to come in and feel out the company, but you want to keep it a surprise.
You got to put something to paper. You got to put something to paper.
And it looks like the two groups will make a deal, will come together and reach an agreement, but how much damage is done over the last 2 weeks? Having him there, but not there all of a sudden? I think they can certainly recover.
They need to fit him for a tracksuit.
Main event Mafia tracksuit?
Possibly. Apparently Booker T said, I'm getting one too.
Well, I think he said you have to figure out where it comes from. And then, but, Bobbly Lashley, a big acquisition if TNA were to be able to actually draw the ink to paper and pull it off. I think that they've got several opportunities as to where they can go with Lashley when he is part of the company. But we talked about Elijah Burke earlier. They made it public that they had Elijah Burke visiting at a recent show. We've obviously seen Trevor Murdoch come in. We've heard rumors of a Paul London. We've heard rumors of a Trevor.
Lance
Cade coming in as
Super
well.
Super Red is already there.
Amazing Red,
Amazing Red, or
just been offered a contract, a long-term contract with TNA.
Funny Red, or whatever.
Amazing Red. We saw Kip James return to the ring and get squashed by.
Got squashed by Kong. Do you get it?
Yeah, I guess. But it's just, I don't know. This hasn't been a good wrestling week.
And I love Kevin Nash. I really, after having him on the show now twice, getting to sit and talk to him, I have more respect for Kevin, but I don't know if the close-up on the face is really one I want to see out of Kevin Nash, talking about how he's going to beat up Joe.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I'm not buying it. Not buying it.
Anyways, Bobbly Lashley, we're interested to hear what you guys have to say. How did TNA recover from this? What do they use him for, and what will make the most sense for you or the most impact on you, if you will? The number, 276-ESPN, 276-3776, or all over the world at 1-800-990-ESPN. Again, that's 1-800-990-ESPN. We're live at PWRshow.com, where the Chatmosphere is going strong. Meathead, any comments of note in the Chatmosphere at PWRshow.com?
Hatton versus Pac-Man was sad but great. Basically, the Lashley talk is boring. I mean, they're talking about boxing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, let's talk about something in wrestling that we all care about.
Well, Lashley coming to TNA, I think, is something very important. We have the best thing in TNA has done since Steiner on a Pogo Stick by Bookworm 316.
Which video is available at PWRshow.com.
Indeed. One Man Dynasty saying Lashley will sign with TNA. I think that's going to be the case as well. Again, like we said, Bobby Lashley.
Is it true that Steiner and Foley equal ratings?
Oh, if you look at the numbers, they do.
But, again, we're not going to report the numbers anymore because, it irritates Damien.
No, I didn't say we're not going to. I said we're considering it. We've got to put it in front of the board, and get a decision.
Yeah, that's also in front of the board is me getting a run sheet so I can see what the hell we're doing.
Because that would help.
It would. I'd like an idea of what's going on.
We're going to take a time out here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, here live Sunday night, May 17th, 2009, right up the heels of WWE Judgment Day.
I'm trying to figure out the music yet. I don't have it.
Is your iPod on shuffle?
It's always on shuffle.
Let's continue talking here. We just got done talking about the TNA Bobby Lashley situation. Now let's go Meathead into our weekly spectacular known as the VI3. Each week we pick the top 3 names of the professional wrestling business. I always say 3 names, but it's actually 4 names because 1 singles, 1 female, and a tag team spot. And we're going to start with the man who doesn't have a run sheet, the man they call Media.
Yeah, but he is prepared mentally, but you'll never see that.
Because you can't prove it. Can you prove it in a court of law?
You can never prove it.
Exactly. So it didn't happen.
My singles wrestler for my VI3 will be the wrestler known as Daniels, Christopher Daniels, the Fallen Angel.
He who will be on PWR Primetime this week, Christopher Daniels.
Okay, that's my single. My tag team from the same match, Motor City Machine Guns, as you point left forefinger to the right thumb. And from the same show, yes, I'm all TNA this week. Not because WWE's pay-per-views. Not because WWE's pay-per-views.
You're a TNA mark.
I'm a mark for me. Have you ever met me? My guy, even though, he's still stuck in this thing with Booker T right now.
You owe me a woman.
What would you do with a woman? Honestly, another show. Even though he's stuck in this thing with Booker T for the Legends Championship, I still like watching him because he's phenomenal.
You can't put AJ on your list.
I can always put AJ on the list.
Mr. So Prepared.
He appeared on TNA television.
No, listen, fine, yes, he did, but I said, let's rewind. A singles competitor, a tag team spot, and a female spot.
He dressed up as a woman once.
Submitted.
He dressed up as a woman once.
You have submitted Daniels, a man. The Motor City Machine Guns, a tag team. Thus meaning...
No. Chris Sabin is dressed up as a woman, too. So you're telling me if I put Kong on there, that's a man, too?
No! Kong is a woman.
He's
according
kind of
to who?
afraid of girls.
According to who?
Nicole Bass.
Carl. You're channeling Carl Love now.
I want your slide trombone in my brass suction.
I will admit I made a mistake.
Oh, Mr. So Prepared. Mr. Don't need to prove it in a court of law. Mr. Don't need to write it down. Damn, I love when I'm right.
Yeah, I will make a mistake. Once in a long while. But anyways, my woman, she won her dark match at Judgment Day, even though she wasn't on camera, Mickie James.
The definitive and prepared VI3 this week, ladies and gentlemen. My number one spot, my top spot this week goes to Scott Steiner.
Wait a minute. You got to have a drop for that. Something. Scott Steiner is his singles competitor.
Huh?
Yeah.
Scott Steiner. Pogo stick? Number two, the female spot, rather, goes to Awesome Kong.
Who should be the men's spot?
Well, she beat a man. How long you had that problem? And you know what? My tag team spot goes to Don West and Mike Today.
What? Because Don West it's funny, but it's irritating because he does it too much. He does it too much.
It ebbs and it flows. I thought this week was a great mix. This past week on Impact, I think it was a great mix of the two of them with their banter going back and forth. It was almost like a lot of people have said that West is sort of like a mixture of Bobby Heenan and Jesse Ventura, where he's got that antagonistic kind of thing going for him, yet he's got that knowledge that he sometimes throws in there that's important.
He made one very, very off-colored remark that I will bring.
Color.
It's about a man of color. When Daniels and Suicide were in the ring at the same time, he said, well, sometimes mistakes are happen. They thought OJ did it the first time. I couldn't believe he went there.
What does it have to do with color?
I don't know. He kept going. I'm not going to bring up the rest. All you got to do is YouTube this clip. That's it. I'm not saying it.
Speaking of YouTubing clips, Don West and Mike Today had a pretty interesting thing to say about WWE WrestleMania 25 and the way they treat their fans comparatively to how TNA treats its fans. You can check that out all over the web. We'll go ahead and put that link up at the PWRshow.com.
Also, we know that from personal experience as well, having been a fan being treated that way and having been around them while they treat other fans. TNA takes care of the fans. WWE, not so much.
We got an email from Mike from New York, reference Judgment Day, sort of a little further thinking about what we could see coming out of Judgment Day, and he says, what do you guys think of a Morrison-Jericho feud? Jericho Mysterio does nothing for me. I think Jericho could be used like The Undertaker in building young talent. Goes on to say, love the show. I've been watching you guys since you were on Max Sports Online, and you guys are the best for real wrestling news and reporting. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mike. And Meathead, back to the question, what do you think about a John Morrison-Chris Jericho feud? Jericho, you being the Jericho mark that you are.
Could do a lot of good for John Morrison. John Morrison could learn from Chris Jericho, and I'm not talking out in front of the cameras. I'm talking about behind the cameras, and I'm talking about in a ring, about how not to do these damn spots that he does all the time, because you know what? That gets old after a while.
For you.
You honestly, let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask this out at the Chatosphere as well. You know, email us.
Where's the Chatosphere?
Chatosphere.
Where is the Chatosphere?
It's in the universe of the Internet. It's at www.pwrshow.com also, but we know where the Internet is. Anyways, I ask this of you. Could you watch an entire pay-per-view of just spots, guys doing silly somersault crazy flips?
Yeah.
You could? Really?
Did you watch Wrestling Society X?
Yes, I did. And I got bored of it.
Yeah, not me.
I need all of it. I need to be entertained. I need to see ring psychology, and I need some, athleticism.
I think you get that from Morrison. I think Morrison's well-rounded. I think he can deliver all that. I think he does. I don't think he, Jeff Hardy's been accused of being a spot monkey. For a time,
not
that's
as much.
all you saw.
No, not as much anymore, because,
not anymore. You're right.
Hardy has really worked in some psychology now.
Yeah, you're right.
He's slowed it down a little bit, and now he's more well-rounded as a performer.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. But
bedazzled abs only go so far.
Still, one of his favorite lines was, I don't know if it was when he was at a date with the Bella twins, or I think it was on commentary, where he said something to the effect of, "I'm a hottie."
No.
That's what he said. I'm just reporting it, folks. Beat the meat. We had a question last week. Nobody was able to get it. Maybe the questions are too difficult.
No.
I mean, get the answer to the question.
What's really difficult is that I was hoping somebody would get it so they could have it in their email, because I don't know where I put the question.
Back to this run sheet thing.
It would have been on the run sheet. As Damien goes back to his notes from last week, I'm going to give you a little bit of story. Now, our producer was talking to us about how do you make a heel a face? And there's a bunch
of... You kick him.
There's a bunch of...
Was that bad Lawler or bad Heenan?
I think it was bad Lawler.
Was it worse than... How did Helen Hart get her... Why'd she get her tongue stuck in a toaster?
Helen Hart got her tongue stuck in a toaster.
Well, because she was trying to French kiss. Oh, no, she was trying to make French toast. Dang. I messed it up. That was a Lawler one. You get it? French toast?
Who's Helen Hart?
Stu's wife, Brett's mother. Stu and Helen Hart. Are you a wrestling broadcaster? Or are you a trick monkey?
I honestly thought you were talking about Helen Keller.
She's dead.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have last week's question? I was supposed to do all the talking.
No, you were midstream, and I interjected there.
Yeah,
I don't have last week's question. Way to bring it. Way to be professional here. Why don't you give us this week's question? Tell people how they can submit their answer so that they can win.
You're killing me here. If I had the run sheet, I'd know when this stuff was coming up.
Oh, wait, because you didn't know we were going to do Beat the Meat this week. It's your self-entitled segment.
Do you
want me to do that too?
We have 20 minutes left in the show. If I would have been given an idea of when it was going to be on.
Because it didn't happen in the first hour and 40 minutes. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. We're going to take a timeout. Thank you. We're going to take a timeout while he finds the question for this week, and it'll be a doozy, ladies and gentlemen. Still to come, TNA Sacrifice preview in depth on Mtt Morgan. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, here live Sunday night, May 17, 2009. And it's time to go in-depth, Meathead. But before we do that, on Mtt Morgan, whose music you hear in the background, let's go to this week's Beat the Meat question.
Beat the Meat. All right. Now, it's a guy that we've had on this show before. We've done an interview with him. So the answer is actually I believe in the interview, because we've done more than one with him. I don't know how many we've done, actually, Damien. We've done at least one, possibly two. Again, they all start to blend together. But what was the name of the band that Jimmy Hart performed with before entering professional wrestling?
You can send the answer to that question, this week's Beat the Meat, to us at comments at pwrshow.com. Comments at pwrshow.com. Just go ahead and use the links at the site, pwrshow.com. We'll announce the winner next week right here on this very program. And Meathead will be on next Monday night, Memorial Day.
Yep. Once again, the question, what was the name of the band that Jimmy Hart performed with before entering professional wrestling?
The winner and the following week's question coming up Memorial Day. We are live at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. But Meathead, Mtt Morgan, the Blueprint.
It's funny that we're bringing this up because Chad's fear has been blown up on Mtt Morgan for a few weeks now.
I came to a realization of Mtt Morgan
about a month
weeks ago.
Yeah, about a month or so ago. I've been on Mtt Morgan's jock, if you will, for about the last 6 months to 8 months. And I'm kind of glad that it's really starting to pan out for Mtt Morgan. And Mtt Morgan has got the look. I've always said he's got the look. Mtt Morgan, I've thought, and at the time that we talked about it, Damien, you didn't think so. Mtt Morgan didn't really have the mic skills at that point. But you know what? I think he can go. And I think this little program that he had with Abyss really worked for him. And I think it put him up at that next level. I'm not going to say, like the Chatosphere wants me to, that he's the next big thing. But Mtt Morgan has a place in wrestling right now.
Well, let's talk about how he got to that place in wrestling. For those that don't know, Mtt Morgan actually came out of, he was a product of WWE's Tough Enough, the second season, back in 2002. At that point, he did sign a developmental deal with WWE, going down to OVW. Was the first time he was referred to as the Blueprint, teaming up with Mark Jindrak, formerly of Jindrak and Sean O'Hare.
Man, Jindrak, that's a guy that we need to go in depth on and figure out what the hell happened.
Yeah. Debuted in WWE proper in October of 2003. He was picked by the then general manager of SmackDown, Paul Heyman, to team with the next big thing, Brock Lesnar, which consisted of a bunch of people. That run only lasted about a year. In a few months rather. Shortly after the Royal Rumble, we didn't see much more of Mtt Morgan as he was sent back to OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, where he would eventually become the OVW champion in 2005, early 2005, defeating Elijah Burke. However, that reign would only last about 17 days. Continuing along the course of Mtt Morgan so far, he comes back to WWE regular television, specifically SmackDown, in April of 2005, just after losing that OVW championship. I might explain why he lost it so soon. And at that point, things got a little ridiculous, as they tend to do in WWE. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Does that make me a TNA mark?
Yes.
Oh. Where he came back with it was a stutter.
Oh, that stutter was terrible. Terrible. Because, it was just a rehash of Bubba Ray's stuff.
Yep. Well, this one didn't last as long as Bubba's did, as it only lasted about 3 months before he was exiled from WWE, last seen on the 4th of July in 2005, where he was wrestling William Regal when the Mexicools got involved.
The Mexicools. I
miss
those guys, too. No, those are their Juan Deeres.
He then spent a little time with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Then in 2007, August specifically, coming into TNA Wrestling. And firstly, he was the backup for Jim Cornette in TNA management. And then we obviously saw him get involved with that angle where he finally ended up aligning himself with Team Cage, where he really broke out as a star. And as someone talked about earlier, being paired with The Undertaker, him being paired with Abyss, who was on the Pro Wrestling Report 2 weeks ago, he really came of his own in that program with Abyss. And obviously in between, spending a little time with American Gladiators as well, as he was on that show for a couple of episodes.
About a minute.
At this point in his career, Mtt Morgan really does have a lot of potential. He has stepped up his game. He is confident. That's clear. It's also been a nasty reputation he's had backstage for being overly confident. But he's been around the block a couple times, Meathead, over the course of the last 6 years, whether it be in WWE, OVW, New Japan, or TNA. And we've certainly seen him grow as a wrestler. And it was a couple of months ago where he cut a few promos where I said, wow, this guy actually, he could be a star.
Yeah, everything that I said in the beginning of this Mtt Morgan thing is exactly what I'm going to say again right now. He has the look. He has the size. It's surprising that WWE wasn't able to make something out of him with their, love affair for the big man. But, they gave him that stupid stutter. And that really just made it terrible. What can you do with a guy when he starts stuttering? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you right into a storyline that he can talk normal again? It just doesn't make any damn sense.
The question is now, where does Mtt Morgan go in TNA? Of course, he the last time we saw him or heard of him, he was giving the Main Event Mafia the opportunity to allow him into their elite faction. While it would make not much sense for them to do so because it would defeat the whole Main Event Mafia purpose, where does he go next in TNA media to remain relevant?
He needs to work with some AJ Styles. He needs to work with Joe. He needs to work with, somebody in the Main Event Mafia. Get himself TV time.
I would tend to agree with that. Mtt Morgan, folks, go ahead and send us your comments, your thoughts on Mtt Morgan, the blueprint Mtt Morgan of TNA Wrestling. We'll go in-depth again next week on a Superstar to be announced. But speaking of next week, Sunday, it is the pay-per-view Sacrifice from TNA Wrestling, Meathead. They're going to try to outdo WWE's offering from tonight.
That's not what they're trying to do.
Oh, that's absolutely what they're trying to do.
That is not what they're trying to do.
Absolutely,
they're trying to put on the best product possible. They don't look at the WWE and say, okay, we just need to be better than them.
Yes, they do.
No.
Absolutely they do. Much like WWE does the same thing for TNA. That's not the driving force, but that's a contributing factor.
It's a factor.
It'd be
you
dumb
made
businessmen if
No, it's a factor, but you made it out to be that's their main goal. Sell it again the right way. That they do pay attention to it, but that's not what's
They're
going
to try to outdo Judgment Day. There's no doubt.
No, they're going to try to put on the best show they can, and if that's
that's the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
How is it not?
It's not.
How is it not?
All right, it's like I come to this show today, and every day that we do this show, my goal is to be better than Damian Nelson. That's not what I do.
Or we're not competing.
Right, but WWE and TNA are not competing either.
Yes, they are.
No, they're
For
not.
pay-per-view dollars, they absolutely are.
If they were on at the same time, because we can make the
not
same
for
argument.
Pay-per-view.
We can make the same argument for the wrestling war, if you will, because they're not on the same night, so they're not fighting for the same fans because they have.
But there are many fans who will buy one pay-per-view a month. I'm ordering the TNA pay-per-view. I didn't order Judgment Day.
There's many fans that are stealing the pay-per-view on the internet and going to blast zones and blast areas that show the pay-per-view for free.
Which they can't do for TNA, though.
For a nominal, yes, they can. It's been taken care of.
Not as readily as they can for WWE.
Not as readily available.
I think for sure people make the decision as to which pay-per-view they're going to order, which makes it a different situation. People don't decide whether or not they're going to watch Impact or Raw. That's not an argument. But they certainly do decide which pay-per-view they're going to order. Your TNA fans are going to order the TNA pay-per-view and, of course, not even consider ordering the WWE pay-per-view. But there are those fans who might be on the fence and look at the card going into it and say, all right, which card is better? This is the one I'm going to order then.
And we've talked about this before. Wrestling fans know what WWE is. Wrestling fans may know about TNA. And if you know about TNA, then you already know about WWE. If you know about Ring of Honor, then you know about TNA and WWE. I mean, we've made this argument before. A wrestling fan, the first thing you're going to see is WWE because it's the most prominent. It's, does the biggest production, business, and so forth.
A card that is much better than Judgment Day tonight, in my opinion, as far as potential overall entertainment, the Knockouts Monster Ball. Daphne confirmed for that matchup.
Daphne.
All kinds of, and she did a number on not only Lauren, who was an innocent bystander, but Taylor Wilde this past week on Impact in that restaurant.
Yeah, but how did she get held off by a broken glass? Stand back.
That was not even being held properly.
Yeah,
but
stand back. I'll cut you.
That's another point we need to make is how good Lauren is as a backstage commentator coming from a non-wrestling environment. We had the chance to meet her last October. A very nice lady, but also very well into the storylines and angles and whatnot going on, as opposed to being just some girl who they found who's pretty who can hold a microphone. Kevin Nash,
which is what happened with Gregory Helms
and Mike McGurk. Who knows her? Ha ha.
No. I said Gregory Helms is another pretty girl
and
that
Mike
can hold a
McGurk.
microphone.
Do you remember Mike McGurk?
No.
Mike McGurk was a woman. Kevin Nash versus Samoa Joe. Remember, there's Taz hanging out there, Meathead. I haven't talked about that a lot lately, and there's some speculation in the Shadowsphere, that a lot of the people that have been abducted over the last few weeks by Samoa Joe are going to join the Nation of Violence, which is an intriguing concept. It's an I Quit match for the TNA Legends Championship, AJ Styles versus Booker T. The knockouts will go one-on-one for the title.
Let's talk about AJ and Booker. There's a match that we've seen already one too many times. We need to wrap this thing up. Give Booker
Maybe
back
they
his
will
belt.
in this I Quit match coming up Sunday night at Sacrifice on pay-per-view. The Knockouts Championship will be on the line as Angelina Love finally is one-on-one with Awesome Kong. I believe that's their first one-on-one contest or contest at all since Angelina Love took that title at Lockdown. It is the finals of the Team 3D Tag Team Invitational as Beer Money takes on the British Invasion.
They're coming with a lot of steam.
That includes Doug Williams and Brutus Magnus, the British Invasion. Entertaining tag team, by the way, the British Invasion. And Beer Money, obviously the top tag team I would say in the business right now. I don't think anybody beats them. They're like the Wiz. TNA World Championship match. It is actually a four-way. Kurt Angle and Sting to go up against Jeff Jarrett and Mick Foley in a four-way dance. Now, here are the stipulations, because TNA likes to get overcomplicated in their stipulations. If Angle loses the match and is pinned or submitted, he sacrifices his leadership in the main event Mafia as the Godfather. Remember, every man who got the opportunity to go up against Foley in this matchup had to sacrifice something. If Sting loses, he sacrifices his career, and if Jarrett loses, he sacrifices his position in TNA management. Now, any three of those scenarios, Meathead, has long-term interest, meaning each one, I think, will keep fans drawn in.
Well, the fourth one does as well, Foley sacrificing his belt.
Yeah, no, I agree. But again, we talked earlier about some of the long-term storylines that might be in place for TNA. I think this goes to continue to prove that fact, that they are thinking more than next week's Impact or next month's pay-per-view. So that's TNA Sacrifice. It comes to us live on pay-per-view this Sunday night. We'll be bringing you a preview of that show as well. Let's go back to the Chatmosphere at PWRshow.com.
Shadowsphere.
One Man Dynasty says, who will pay the ultimate sacrifice at TNA Sacrifice? That's the question. Batman says Nelson is the TNA mark. Well, sure, you want me to be. Edgehead says TNA puts on a bad show more times than not. Well, okay. Mr. Breakstown saying women shouldn't really blade. Not interested in a woman's hardcore match. Now,
I got one time in one of my dreams, I got hardcore with Daphne.
The good thing about the TNA knockouts is if you watch their match at its core, it's sometimes easy to overlook the fact that they're women. And here's what I mean by that. They don't pull anything back. They pull no punches. They give you everything in that ring that a lot of the traditional wrestling matches give you with male competitors. That's what makes the knockouts better than the Divas, in my opinion. And I think that's what's going to make this Monsters Ball, featuring all the knockouts, something to be reckoned with. It could be a disaster as well. We'll see this Sunday at Sacrifice. And then leading into Slammiversary in June. This one should be an interesting show coming up this Sunday. The card, it's built well. It's certainly, I think, worth ordering. It's just to see what happens on that pay-per-view coming up this Sunday. Fans, this week it's a brand new episode of the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. Again, that's Friday nights, right after WWE SmackDown on TV Channel 14 here in southeastern Wisconsin. We've got an exclusive interview with Daniels. Last time we talked to Christopher Daniels, Meathead, it was before, or actually while, he was portraying the Curryman character.
Well, not actually, because we asked him, and he said...
Well, we couldn't talk about it on air, but now we can talk about it after the fact. He is back, and he's got some interesting things to say about the growth of TNA, his return to TNA, and some of the other characters in TNA. That is this Friday on TV, and this Wednesday at PWRshow.com. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us this week for the cause, the man they call Meathead and Damian Nelson. Thank you for tuning in to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
WAUK Jackson. Get Milwaukee sports all day long on 540 ESPN.